Okay, welcome back. This is number 2. This is the What Now version of the series. I named it as What Now because, I just mentioned that, once you figure when you find out like where you are inside of the process of everything with going through your channels and your stages of domestic violence and getting resolution for it, if you get to a point like, what now? Do I stay on guard? Do I move into a safe house? Because I know a lot of people, once you see what I said in and what happens to them, you're like, well, why are you still in a place where he can get to you? Why are you still in the house? Okay, you're gonna come pay for me to move. You're gonna pay for my new apartment. You're gonna help me get a new mortgage. You're gonna move my job. You wanna move me to another state. A lot of people like, just run, do this, do that. I've done that. I've already done that once. And you're probably wondering, what do you mean by you've already done that once? For people that don't know me, and if you do know me, I'm still a very private person. Yeah, I'm doing a video, but I'm an extremely private person, and I believe in what goes on in the home stays in the home. I believe that for a long time, and that's why I am the hush wife. I'm sorry, I was the hush wife. And it's hard to do all of those things. It's hard to go and on nights that are days or when things happen, when you are going through domestic violence in the home and you do run away from home, you pack up your kids and you go buy a friend. You have to completely buy new clothes, new underwear. You have to eat out. In most cases, you have to drive really far sometimes from where you are to get your kids to school or daycare. You have to change those things. You go through so many changes to have safety, to sustain safety. And inside of that process, you run out of money. You can run out of money real fast because you're not functioning. You're not able to go to work. Sometimes you can try to go to work, but the person that you're running from knows, in most cases, where you work, where your kids go to school, where your kids are in at daycare. And I've had my husband in the parking lot at those places, or threatening to go into my job to tell them, oh, she's this and that and that, you shouldn't, to try and get me fired. I've had my husband take away parts inside the engine so I couldn't drive off. I've had him flatten a tire, let air out of my tire, squeeze my keys in my hands. I mean, it's not as easy as some people may think. Well, just run, just flee. I've done that already. And when I say I've really done it already, I've moved my kids completely out of state, went home, left my home, left a lot of things lingering, was in the process of going into debt. I'm sorry, I actually ended up in debt trying to flee from my husband, having to pay for everything, trying to pay for everything while he was in the comfort of his friends because of my first protective order a couple of years ago. Back then, he was an alcoholic because most people that are going through things have addictions, or I have learned to find out that the alcohol wasn't the issue. These are internal issues within my husband that he probably hasn't even recognized, that unleashes his anger and leaves him in a place to take it out on the people that are closest to him, that being us, his family, his immediate, his children and I, So, yes, the what now is, do I run Do I try and fight it and deal with this? Do I demolish? Do I get so depressed and stressed? And yeah, my hair, it was growing at one point really good, but it falls out from stress, and it's not a challenge on faith or anything like that. I'll get to that. But the what now is challenging. It's extremely challenging when you didn't ask for it, when it wasn't your childhood, when it wasn't something you've seen in dating or the first year or marriage or even the second year. Well, I've seen it in the second year, little snippets of it. But when you're so in love, that's the story. When you're so in love, we don't look at those types of things as with magnifying glasses. You try and pray, or you try and look at the other outlook of it, or ignore it, and or when you're married and you want to stay committed to the commitments that you have made under God, these types of things are factored. Especially if your parents are together, and you have never seen your father hit your mom. I mean, or go through any of this. So, it's a lot of things that I think when we go through domestic violence that people don't recollect. They don't get it unless their shoes are, they're wearing those shoes. And, that's any situation. You can say, oh, I would have did this or I would have did that. But I'm here to tell you and not try and prove anything to you. I'm here to tell you that there are ways to get through your what now, because, it's so easy to just run. It's extremely easy. But when you get to the point where you're breaking, and when you get into the point where you are down, like all the way down, where you don't even know who you are, you don't even look the same, you have to make a choice in your what now. Because this type of stuff, this type of fear, and this type of red zone area of things, is hopeless. It's really hopeless. Because you have to make a way. You have to. If you want to, proceed and go forward with your life, you have to find the strength and pull it out. And maintain yourself and sustain yourself and mentally ground yourself to make it. My what now is, because I can't live through other people, I can't go through their books and say, well, this is what Jenny did and Jeff did and whoever else did and everyone else did. But I know I kind of pushed the dids, but I can't go, off of what they experienced and what they went through. I can only vouch for myself. And so inside of my what now is trying to maintain work, being on my toes at all times, having my security cameras within my home and outside my home to protect us, and to notify us, and then, protect as best as I can. As of with the schools, they need a copy of that protective order that you may have, or anything indicating that he cannot pick up your kids or anything like that. Or if you have custody issues, where my case involves child abuse and domestic violence against me. So it's a little different. But if you just have domestic violence and he has rights to the kids, that can be challenging. In my first protective order against my husband a couple of years ago, where I actually just was on the verge of demolishing And I had to actually move all the way back home to where my parents are. And I put my kids in the car and we moved. Almost with nothing, we moved. And I was able to reconstruct my life, but it took me about 2 years. The first year and a half, I had to find me again so that I can actually make decisions. Inside that process, I was just going through the motions. I had a job here, then I got a really good job. And with restoring my identity of who I am, because it's different, when you're a person and you don't know who you are, and you have a position in your life where where you can make a difference. It's different when you have all the pressure of your identity for yourself with the God in you. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little different, and not so much of when you're not living for society or the world or acceptance and stuff like that. It's just different when you're going through a lot of different things that bring you down. And you're such a strong person. You have a strong personality. You have a likable personality. And you have a lot of friends that want to be your friends. And then you just don't want to mislead or misdirect. And so my mechanism it's not hide, but I really regroup. I really get down to myself and what's in my bubble, and I focus on that, and I work on rebuilding that if I have to. So that's what I did when I chose the running mechanism. I ran home, I regrouped, and I was around family, my mom and my dad. And that helped me. And I don't know if you have a parent or whatever, a family to even go to, because that is the situation sometimes. And I honestly don't know about other resources to help with that. That's why I'm in the process of creating a resource to help with all of these stages instead of just pieces and nips of it that are temporary fixes. I want to help people really get back to who they are so that they can be the constructive individuals that they want to be, within themselves, not for the acceptance of other people or the world or society. But, and that's why I think this testimony of all of this stuff is so powerful, because although it was something I wouldn't push on anyone and God knows I don't, your children and your family shouldn't have to go through these types of things, especially when you're a good person. At least you try to be a good person. The unfairness involved with it is just, it is what it is. It's life. But you do have to grab a grip of it and do what you got to do to go forward. So with this what now is get the help that you need. I have a therapist. I've been to my therapist only twice. I went through domestic violence. I didn't even go through, when I ran away, I didn't even get help. I was still just 100% the hush wife. I just moved. People didn't even know why. His parents kind of knew some of it, but a lot of people didn't know why I was back at home all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? Or what was she doing? Or why was she with her parent? It's just, what did she leave? I left a 3-car garage home, a very comfortable lifestyle, everything, I guess the American dream way of things. I left for peace because I was completely being demolished. So that mechanism, I guess it works if you're going to actually stay away from the person. I think running away and regrouping your life and staying away can be constructive. However, what I did was, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us do this, when my husband stopped drinking, because when we was going through all of our domestic violence, like us fighting and stuff like that, or him doing certain things to me, and me being on edge or hiding keys in the bushes and the extra phone in the bushes and parking outside of the house, out of the garage, so that if I had to run away or my neighbor seeing me run out the house with a baby in my arms type of deal, he had alcoholism in his blood. in that process. So inside of that process, he was able to use that as an excuse when we went through our marital counseling, coupling counseling, clinical and spiritual, when he went through his state required counseling, from being on a protective order for domestic family violence, you know. So he's beat all those things. And so after a good year and a half to 2 years, I started looking back at him to regroup this marriage and to raise our kids together, because we don't have any outside kids or anything like that. These are his kids and my kids, and they're very awesome kids. We have very, very kids, you know. And so with buffering all of that, I decided to give my husband another try. Inside that process, eventually it changed again, and now I'm going through all of this again, learning that it wasn't the alcohol back then, and it wasn't those things. It's actually much more, it's a deeper situation within him that I cannot reach as a wife. And with certain covenants broken in our marriage, I have fully accepted the responsibility of having to get a divorce from him and protecting myself, as well as, of course, our children. So my what now is different. And like I was mentioning to you, inside of the my realization of what happens to them, because I am in my gray area, I'm in my red zone. This is the what now for me. But like I said, I have done those other channels. However, I never ever slept in a shelter. I always had a friend that we could go by, and so that's where we went. But I mean, with giving him another chance, like I said, it has put me right back in this whole right back where I was. But this time I have chosen to fight, and inside this fight, meaning fighting for our kids' home, our what we deserve out of all of this, and not run. I chose not to run, and I chose to use all of this stuff for the good, as my testimony, as you see. So this is my what now. I'll come back with the following segment, which is why me. So that will be number 3, and I will see you in a second. Peace. Star. Thanks.